Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Unorthodox Vegan. My name is Sean Gold and today we're going to be making Gomae salad. Now, Gomae salad is something you typically get when you order sushi. Well, I don't eat the fish, so it was one of the few things that I could easily eat. And I thought, why should I order the Gomae salad from the restaurant when we have the sushi coming in when I can just make it myself? I have lots of spinach, so what does it take? I found a good recipe online and this is what we're going to do today. There are only a few simple ingredients required to make the Gomae salad. I'll be walking you through them in more detail later, but we're going to be using some sesame seeds, toasted first, some miso, which is a wonderful flavor that adds to it. And you can pick this up usually in the international food section of your local supermarket. Be picking. The recipe did call for a Japanese soy sauce. I didn't have a Japanese soy sauce. I know it tends to be a little bit sweeter, but I got a low sodium one. I thought that would do, and a little bit of sugar. And of course, we're going to need some spinach. And I always have lots of spinach at hand. So that's what we'll be doing today, making that up. Well, the first step is to toast some sesame seeds. So got some just plain white sesame seeds. I put 2 tablespoons on this tray that I'm going to be putting into my toaster oven, and we'll toast them for just to get them a nice golden brown, and then we'll be doing some cool stuff with them. Well, I have my toasted sesame seeds now. I've done that job fairly well. A little bit difficult sometimes to get them out. It's a little bit messy. Now, what the recipe calls for is to grind these using a special Japanese mortar and pestle, or any regular mortar and pestle, but don't want to have it too fine. Just want to have it a little bit sandy in texture. I don't have a mortar and pestle or a Japanese one, so I'm just going to use my coffee grinder, which I use for all kinds of other things other than coffee. But I have that there for my wife, who likes to do that. Likes to have coffee, and sometimes actually uses fresh beans, roasted beans, and allowing me to grind them for her. That's why we have that. Anyway, I'm going to put those in there. I'm going to give this thing a little bit of a grind. I don't want to get it too fine. It's going to be noisy. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do, just to get that kind of a texture. And put that back into here. I will squeeze out the rest of that using a spatula, get that out there, and then we'll be mixing in the rest of the ingredients. So I did that grinding, took it out of the coffee grinder, and it's got that nice ground up, or slightly ground up sesame seeds. I'll be putting in now a tablespoon of white sugar, just regular white sugar, putting that in, and a tablespoon of miso. Now, a little secret story about the miso. This was sitting in my fridge for a while in a plastic container, but it was not completely airtight, so it dried out. And I tried to make this paste with just the miso the way it was, and it did not work very well at all. I found that it was a nightmare. So what I ended up doing is I ended up having to add a little bit of water because that miso was so dried out. And it added a little bit of texture I didn't want to add to the miso itself, to this miso, or to the gomae paste, and the gomae dressing, and that was somewhat problematic. But 2 things I found out while I was making this dish the first time: the smell of when you do that grinding of the roasted sesame seeds, it had an interesting smell, and I thought, what was that? And before I became a vegan, there were things I used to eat even before I got away from all kinds of products. One of them was that the first scent that came to my mind when I thought about it reminded me of pork rinds, the smell of pork rinds, those things you can buy in a gas station, and if you're on the road and people want to have that little as a snack. And I went, that's what it smells like. I went, oh, that's gross. The other thing, because I don't eat pork anymore, or any meat. The other thing that I noticed is the miso. The dried miso has an interesting flavor, and when it's dried and it's crusty, it has an interesting texture to it too. And when I was serving the salad, there was a couple of little bits in there that still hadn't gotten completely dissolved when I added in a little bit of water trying to get rid of it all. So I did this in advance. I've moistened it and I've processed it so it's a little bit thinner. But at that first salad, what ended up happening is that somebody said to me, "Is there bacon in here?" And I went, "What? There's no bacon in there. It's and I'm trying to figure out what she was referring to. And it was the miso. The dried miso has a slight bacony type flavor to it. Very subtle, very slight, but it was there. And it was somewhat problematic because I didn't want that to happen. So there you go. So I put in, I think I said I put in a tablespoon of sugar, a tablespoon of the miso, and I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. I said it's supposed to be a Japanese one, but I just end up using a low sodium, a regular soy sauce. And that's what I'm putting in there. We'll mix that up and get this to a nice paste. And that's what we're going to be putting in or serving our miso for our gomae salad. Now, the only thing left to do is actually to get the spinach ready. And that you can do at any time when you're processing and getting this ready to go. But to serve it, you do want to serve everything cold. So you can actually get that started earlier and then put it in the fridge and then bring it out when you're ready to add the gomae dressing, which is what we've got right there. It's a little bit thick, but I think it's not too bad. I like it a little bit thick. I could have did a little bit more grinding on the sesame seeds, but that looks pretty good. And it smells wonderful. I'm just going to make sure that that's mixed up. Next thing is to blanch the spinach. I've got water boiling on the stove. I'll just be putting in the spinach for 1 minute and then scooping it out and then getting that, drained it, squeeze out all the water. I'll show you how to do that in a minute and you'll see what we're doing. All right, water's boiling. The next step is to put in about 10 ounces of spinach. And I don't know how much I have in this bag. I have the 40-ounce bag and I probably have about 15 ounces, so it'll be whatever it is. I'm going to put in most of it, but not necessarily all of it. 2 or 3 good handfuls. Putting it into the spinach, into the boiling water, and a little bit more. Get them off the burner. And that's boiling. Push them down into the water and put on for 1 minute. Just so they don't overdo it. When that has been blanched for a minute, I'm going to drain the water out and I'm going to pour cold water on it to stop it from overcooking still with just its own heat. And then we'll squeeze out the excess water and put that in the fridge to cool down and add in, when we're ready, we'll add in the gomae dressing and we'll be able to taste it. Pour that through here. And cold. Let that cool down. And then we're going to let that strain out all that excess water. And squeeze it out. All right, this is going to go into a bowl, into the fridge. We'll be right back. Okay, I've had that spinach cooling down in the fridge. Gomae has been at room temperature a little bit, and I'm ready to do it. Now, this is the amount of spinach you'd get, and this is supposed to be for 6 servings. As you know, in a Japanese restaurant, when they're serving gomae, they usually serve it in small amounts. So just be mindful of that. And I'm going to take the gomae dressing itself and put that in. Start putting it in, mixing it around with a little bit of. And if you're going to serve it, you could just put a lump on top, I guess, of the gomae on top of the spinach, and then let people mix it in themselves. The smell is absolutely delicious. It's wonderful. So I'm going to taste how this goes. Oh. I love that nutty flavor, and the miso is just together. It's sweet, it's nutty, it's healthy. What more could you ask for? And there you have it. Gomae salad. Thank you for watching this episode 13 of the Unorthodox Vegan. My email address is up on the screen. Probably put it on this side. Got some space there. And if you want to watch any of my other episodes, you can follow me on YouTube, and that's the Unorthodox Vegan. So go to www. Well, you'll see the address up here as well. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye for now.